To order, I call the meeting order, we call the roll.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Present.
Councilmember Somerville,
Present.
Mayor Richardson,
Present.
Councilmember Sweet,
Present.
Councilmember Simmons,
Present.
Mr. Jones Chance. With 6 present, there is a quorum.
Move to excuse Brian.
Support. It's been moved and supported to excuse Mr. Jones Chance. All in favor? Aye. Okay, is excused. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We come now to the agenda approval. Are there any changes to the agenda that you wish to make?
I move to postpone ordinance 1395 and 1396 until August 9th.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second, support.
Okay, that motion has been moved and supported that the ordinance 1395 and 1396 be postponed until August, is that, you say August the 9th?
Yeah.
August the 9th. Mr. Barr, do we have to have a roll call on that, or is that,
You should have a roll call on, yes.
okay, thank you. Mr. Herman, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
No.
Councilmember Somerville,
No.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance. Oops. Councilmember Wilcoxen.
Yes.
Motion carries with 4 yes, 2 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you. All right, are there any other changes to the agenda? If not, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as corrected?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as it has been changed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Thank you. We come now to the consent agenda. And Mr. Wilcoxen, I put that there for Mr. Jones Chance. Would you please read that?
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
we are at public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving too fast. I'm looking at the ordinance where I'm marked and, yes, thank you. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak, we need you to raise your hand. I will call on those that signed in first. Thank you. Thank you. Quite a few. Okay, Bill Knowlton, Knowlton.
Yes, hello. My comments were regarding the Clark Road project. If that
Yes.
Discussion has been postponed, so I'll postpone my comments.
Go for it.
I should go ahead and make the comments?
Yeah.
Greetings, members of Ypsilanti City Council. My name is Bill Knowlton. My wife and I have been Ypsilanti City homeowners and more too since 1990. We love Ypsilanti and as lifetime Democrats are proud of our city's values of pride, diversity, and heritage. But we are opposed to the Clark Road project for the negative impact it would have on Ypsilanti's air and water quality by destroying one of the last old growth forests within our city limits. Because of this, it fails, I think, to meet the second condition of the community benefits ordinance, which reads, quote, incorporation of green or sustainable energy elements into the project or the promotion of such investments throughout Ypsilanti. Regarding air quality, Councilman Wilcoxen discussed the project's negative impact on air quality at the June 21st meeting when explaining his no vote. He estimated the forest beneficial impact to be around 1,000 metric tons per year of greenhouse gases captured. This would be lost. And he estimates the housing complex would itself contribute new emissions of around 1,000 metric tons per year. The net result be to increase Ypsilanti's carbon footprint of greenhouse gases by at least 2,000 metric tons per year. And if you cut down an old growth forest, you lose vital bird and wildlife habitat. City of Ypsilanti has an urban forestry management plan on its website. It says, quote, "Tree cover is important to the overall health of Ypsilanti. Trees work around the clock to clean air, reduce energy needs, and intercept stormwater. Additionally, trees contribute significantly to the character, history, and permanency of community, and they positively affect property values. This report says that Ypsilanti's few forests should be preserved on public land. So it could be a public-private partnership. Then regarding water quality, there's a potential negative impact of the Huron River and everything downstream of Penn Park, especially on Ford Lake, which makes this a truly county-wide issue. There's a standard created by the Clean Water Act called the Huron River Total Maximum Daily Load, which regulates phosphorus. That comes, for example, from lawns. If not regulated, phosphorus would contribute to algae blooms in downstream Ford Lake and could prevent recreational use, degrade wildlife habitat, and kill fish. This references a report in 2008 by Washtenaw County on actual conditions before phosphorus was regulated. In short, this project drastically fails the CBO's requirement of green or sustainable energy elements and should be rejected.
No, that's your time. Thank you very much for coming to present to us. Appreciate your comment. Next, we have Sally Love.
Greetings. Good evening. I want to share with you some of the things I've learned these past number of months by coming to these meetings. One, that you council members have a difficult, large job getting ready for each meeting, each time, all the materials to read, digest, etc. And I'm impressed. I also reviewed the city ordinances and see that you have a big charge in terms of making the best decisions for the city now and in the future. And I don't believe you can do that, possibly do that, make the best decision without more information. So I'm pleased that you have postponed the discussion, the hearing, so that you can collect more information. I was also impressed with the power of the city council. It had been stated in some of the previous discussions that the city has no control over the development of this land on Clark Road because it's owned by an individual. This is not true. The city has control over the property originally designed to be Green Road. This gives you control of these parcels. Please use it. And it's not desirable for Green Road to be paved anyway. So it's no, it really should be cited as a benefit that the developer will do that, because it provides an escape from an area already known to be a high crime area. I also wanted to share with you what I learned by talking with the owner of that property. I called Mr. Ramzini and had a long conversation with him. He said he had tried to preserve this property through the Washtenaw County Land Preservation, but they chose the proposal of farmland west of Ann Arbor instead of this. And he thought that this land should have been selected with it being on the river and will all be old trees. It didn't happen. He said Lincoln Capital contacted him expressing interest in the property because of its beauty, trees, and river frontage, none of which they're truly taking advantage of in the proposed development. He hates to see the trees cut down, but he didn't want to own it any longer. So he did sign the sales contract with Lincoln Capital. In January, it was announced in your newsletter that there was the new branch through the Department of Natural Resources Urban Community Forestry Program, which has collected data about trees and what's needed to preserve trees in Ypsilanti. That report is coming out in September, and Susan Roberts, who's the project director, has been working with the Department of Public Services and states the results of the study will be presented then. with the recommendation that the city promulgate an ordinance to further protect trees. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to destroy a bunch of trees. At the same time, you're developing a way to protect.
Thank you, Ms. Love.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Church.
Hello, Mayor and Council.
Hello.
Good to see everybody. I have some statements to make regarding the Park Street project. And one of them is about Lincoln Capital Partners. I did a little bit of research on their background. And they are the Bronfman family, which formerly owned Seagram's Distillery in Canada. And the Lincoln Capital Partners are headed by two brothers of the Bronfman family. And they're billionaires. They're actually billionaires. And so I was wondering, why would they be so interested in this project? And also, why would they be so needy of our tax dollars? And what I found was that it's basically the tax credit. If you get the low income housing tax credit, they can have up to 9% of the total project's what they call the basis, which is the buildings minus the land in most cases, to deduct from their taxes every year. So you can see that if you have like a tax bill that is a large amount, you can use this to offset your tax bill. And furthermore, at the end of the 10 years, you basically own this project. So it's an incredibly generous approach to finance. And that's why they do it. They buy apparently about $145 million worth of properties every year for this purpose, to shelter their money. And so that really struck me because of how much our city needs these tax dollars. Spread over even 30 years, $28 million is a lot of money to IPSI, I think. And I understand the motivation. If you don't have empathy for people, where would we be, right? And so it always feels good to throw the life preserver out and help or save somebody. But we never look beyond that. The people that we bring into the city, you're bringing them into the city with the highest crime, worst schools, lowest job prospects. And this has been documented over and over and over again, not only in IPSI, but in other cities in similar conditions throughout the United States. So I wish we would think more carefully about whether we want to really do this project. And furthermore, if we do want to do it, think more carefully about how much money we're going to spend on it. Because these people are going to need our help forever, not just at the moment of throwing the life preserver, but for their whole lives. Let's see, the other point I wanted to make was just that there are some environmental costs. It is a beautiful spot. There's only so much land available in the city for our use. And I hope that we can hold on to this little piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Appreciate it. Dara Church. Dara Church, are you gonna speak?
No.
No, okay, thank you. Lisa Wozniak.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. My name is Lisa Wozniak. I live at 1018 Congress Street, and I've lived there for 25 years. As a past board member of Avalon Housing and a current leader in the arena of environmental protection and environmental justice, I understand the intersectional nature of the issues confronting us, from affordable housing to access to fresh foods, to challenges of public transportation and the increasing costs of energy and the impact of the climate crisis. Before I share my thoughts on one of your recent decisions and the one that you just actually postponed moving forward about Clark Road, I want to thank you for your public service. There is no glamour and there's no glory in serving on city council or in the office of mayor. You're elected to lead our city, making good decisions about the health and safety of our community, about the financial integrity of our city, and ideally about how Ypsilanti puts itself on the map. leading in addressing some of the toughest questions facing our nation, many of them deeply connected to racial justice and equity. So you hear a lot from a lot of people every single time you meet. And I just want to remind you that the loudest voices, I think we all know, are not always the wisest. So tonight, my comments are specifically about the community benefits ordinance process, a process that in its infancy seems to be working pretty well, but there seems to be some important decisions that perhaps they've not considered. Yes, affordable housing is deeply needed here in Ypsilanti, and I would argue throughout Washtenaw County, but at what cost? And I think the people that preceded me in their comments were spot on. Are the developers in this case incorporating the best climate and sustainability features possible? As some of you may know, there exist a number of passive housing standards that allow houses and homes to be built at the same cost as traditional construction, but in a way that is more energy efficient and is more comfortable and quieter. And here's the kicker for all of you to really consider. Less expensive for the residents because utility costs are greatly reduced. And they have the prospect of being net zero operational energy if the energy source is clean. Was any of this requested or demanded of the developer? Did the CBO bring these critical considerations to the table? It seems to me that it should be an essential component part of any proposed development, and certainly one that includes the destruction of an older growth forested area that captures a lot of carbon in its current state. At this point, it's incumbent on all of us, certainly all the more so since Washington, D.C. doesn't seem to be doing much of anything, to consider decisions like this through the lens of both carbon and climate change and through the lens of equity, which I would argue every single case is closely intertwined. As we all know, communities of color and low-income communities are bearing the brunt of climate change and our rising energy costs. So I close with this. Keith Cooley, who's a member of my board, the Michigan City Board of Directors, he's the vice chair of Governor Whitmer's Advisory Council on Environmental Justice and the president of the Citizens Utility Board of Michigan, wrote to Mayor Richardson today and CC'd Councilman Wilcoxon and members of the city staff. And he wrote, I, like you, know the issues so many of our citizens of color are faced with, including high energy bills that go beyond their ability to pay and negative health impacts of air and water pollution. I encourage you to do this proposal justice, to do it right, and see the interconnected nature of these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming and your comments. Thank you. Former Mayor Cheryl Farmer.
Thank you. Yesterday, I stood in a forest cathedral at 8:45 and 9:45 Clark Road. Have you seen it? Trees up to 80 feet tall and over 100 years old on the old Potawatomi Trail along the Huron River. My friend and walking companion, Dr. Sylvia Taylor, a professor emeritus at the U of M, who is very conversant about wild places, described it as an oak opening savanna located on the river. She told me the Native Americans who lived here did prescribed burns every few years to clear the brush under the big trees. This made hunting easier, and she said that the lush grass that sprouted up after the fire was like deer bait. There were red, white, and pin oak trees, black walnut, ashwood, basswood, redbud, bitter hickory, butternut, pignut hickory. Many of the trees had numerical markers nailed to them: number 45, 46, 77, 140, 189, 225, 430, 451. Does anyone know who did this inventory and when and why? A couple of birders we met on our walk, the Noltes actually, said they had seen 31 species of birds in 2 hours, 31 species. Sylvia said, anything this, I quote, anything this nice and right in town is really remarkable. She said it was a much nicer piece of land than what the county recently had acquired along the Huron River in Highland Cemetery. This is the site proposed for a big apartment complex. I'm kicking myself that we didn't rezone this beautiful parcel as a natural area when I was mayor. If you haven't seen it yet, you owe it to yourself to go and see it before it's gone. As we walked, we found several areas where heavy equipment had made huge ruts in the topsoil, ripping up the native mayapple and trillium. Sylvia said, quote, any developer that's going to use these kind of methods you don't want, unquote. The developer has been treating this land as if he already owns it. as if he has already cleared all of city council's hurdles. Do we know if an official assessment has been done of these two parcels? If so, may we see a copy? Would this property be appropriate for preservation? If you haven't seen it yet, you owe it to yourself to go. It's like the Joni Mitchell song. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pave paradise and put up a parking lot. There are any number of parcels where the land has already been disturbed to build on. Why would we want to facilitate the destruction of this one? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farmer. John Love.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple of items. First of all, I was vice chair, and now I'm chair, but we don't meet very often, with Economic Development Committee. And in the 1990s, we started a ball down the hill. It sounded wonderful. We were going to clean up Water Street. We purchased the Arlen's building with our funds. And we gave it to the city and said, here you go, here, have a gift. I think it was about $175,000 at the time. No one through that whole operation over 6 months stood in front of us and said, wait a minute, this may not be a great idea. Whereas now you have the opportunity. Someone is standing in front of you and saying, have you really figured out the ramifications financially to the city, what this is going to mean? Is it going to be another Water Street? I worry about that. I think about Water Street all the time. I thought we did a great deal at the time. I'm sorry it turned out the way it turned out. But like I say, everybody we talked to thought it was a great idea. Second item, the trees and talking about, well, we won't have any control over the next developer that comes along. And I want to pledge to everyone in the audience, to the city council, if this does fall through, I will work with Mr. Ranzini and I will commit my efforts and my resources to make sure that that land could be preserved for all. So I think that's an item we might really want to take off the table. And I think we can move to the point where we can make this a resource for the city. To answer Cheryl Farmer's question about inventory, that happened when a previous developer wanted to cut down the trees. And one of the requirements at the city council at that time, because they were concerned about the trees, is they insisted upon a whole inventory. Now that footprint was smaller than the current one, and they were working out a way to save the largest number of trees. This is not going to happen. They're talking about 10-foot boundaries, not 25, 50, or 75-foot boundaries. So think of the economic long-term impact of the city. This is a giveaway. I'm sorry, it's the way it is. Think about the impact that we lose by losing this piece of land.
Thank you very much, Mr. Love. Amanda Smith.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you all. I'm baffled right now. I'm sitting here baffled that this council, who has been so in favor of creating new housing for people who need places to live, came in today with no discussion as to why and postponed agenda items that were given to the public. I'm not really sure what's going on. I think the public deserves an explanation of what the heck just happened, because that was super disturbing to see people already decided on an issue without any discussion about what was going on. I also wanted to say I was at the school board meeting last night, go to a lot of those. And at that meeting, I met somebody new because they stood up in front of the school board and they talked about how exciting the program is that they have and how there's people begging to be part of it, but they can't find a place to live in Ypsi. We need housing. I cannot even believe that anyone would consider anything above people So I expect that my representatives do better than to vote on something with no explanation as to why you're postponing a discussion that is supposed to happen tonight to move forward a project that as far as I understand how developments go, if they get slowed down, they can get killed. So anything that's postponing it is probably working toward that. So I would like an explanation.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Michael Hall.
Thank you, Councilmember. I don't live in Ipsy, I live in Brighton, Michigan, but I work here for the university. I teach in the School of Environment and Sustainability, Ecology and Botany courses. And I am curator at the Botanical Gardens. I've not had Botanical Gardens in the Southern region. But previously I worked for 15 years cataloging, inventorying the state of Michigan. I worked for Michigan Natural Features Inventory as part of the Nature Conservancy and Michigan State University, inventorying the state of Michigan and working with conservation organizations like the Nature Conservancy, local and state and federal agencies on prioritizing conservation efforts and helping them understand how to manage for biodiversity and manage forests. So I was contacted about this development at 945 Clark Street. And I want to speak to the importance of preserving that property as a natural area, because it really stands out. If you look at where this property is located and you zoom out, you can see that this is one of the few parcels left of forested land with from there south. This is it. If you look at large blocks of forest moving south from there, there's nothing left. That's it. So this isn't just a one-off. This isn't this isn't replaceable. There's not anything left. You can look at this in Google Maps yourselves. This is it. That there isn't nothing left moving south. So the other thing about this property, it has large diameter, large, wide oak trees. Oaks support over 450 different native insect species that the birds feed on. 95% of bird species in North America, outside of the seabirds, feed on insects to raise their young. They require insects to raise their young. This group of species that provide the most insects are the oaks. The large oaks also sequester a tremendous amount of carbon. They used to think in ecology that small trees grew fast, so they take out carbon quickly, carbon from the atmosphere through photosynthesis. Now we know that's absolutely wrong. A big tree, even though it grows in diameter just a small amount each year, it does this amongst all the branches and the entire trunk. So it sequesters through the leaves through photosynthesis. Each tree, a tremendous amount of carbon. And right now we're in a point of global climate change. That is, the climate's warming rapidly compared to what it had been for many eons. So consequently, these trees serve critical function for the songbirds and sequestering carbon. So I urge you to protect this as a natural. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Call. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to council? Yes, please come and give your name.
Hello, my name is Donna Farley. I'm just going to finish Bill Nolting's remarks that he wasn't complete. As he noted, the project fails to meet the CBO's requirements regarding environmental issues. In our view, a more sustainable, environmentally sustainable action would be to preserve the Clark Road old growth forest through purchase of the property by Natural Area Preservation Programs of Washtenaw County and the Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy. We have to ask, why would the city pay millions to the developer for the pilot to effectively underwrite the destruction of one of the city's last old growth forests instead of locating this project, say, on a vacant field of our favorite topic, Water Street development, which the city already owns? If residents on Water Street would be able to walk to downtown Ypsi, to Depot Town, to the Ada bus terminal. They could take one bus to get to a major grocery store, not transfer to have to do that. Moreover, they would be right next door to Waterworks Park with its new baseball diamond, renovated baseball diamond, and the nature trail along the Huron. We know that several of you are running for office in the November election, and that one of your campaign flyers says, climate resiliency, fight for clean air and clean water. Well, here's your chance. We urge City Council to vote no on the pilot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Hey, Ms. Abdu?
I'm Yvonne Abdu. I live at 2028 Collegewood Street. I've been a resident of Ypsilanti since 1987. I discovered our property by accident because a realtor, we had been looking in Ann Arbor and no one showed us anything there and that was affordable to begin with. But I happened to call on a for sale by owner and the realtor queried me and said, I'll be glad to show you some properties, which she did. And lo and behold, we found some jewels in Ypsi, and especially the home that we did purchase. Despite hearing about the bad schools, the crime and all that. And this area has just been wonderful. Our daughter went to finish in the Ypsi schools and survived and did very, very well academically and in her later career. So I would like to, wish I could have $1 for everyone who said that when they come to Ypsi, that they never knew this place existed at Chippewa Swim Club. They said, we didn't think anything like this existed. So I also want to bring, my main point is, I really empathize with you having to deal with some of this. I spent hours getting ready for this meeting, looking for information so that I could make an informed decision. I don't know what you as council members receive, but if you do receive more info, then that should be a matter of public record. I could not find financials, cost, budgets, how the decisions were made when the development office person says, well, financial stuff isn't my concern. That's my know-how. That has me very concerned. How can you make informed decision-making? I support affordable housing. However, some of the comments that have been made over these past meetings, it's more like decision-making by emotion rather than by facts. I happen to teach decision-making or when I was working. And my students put a flunked based on what I've been hearing. So we've got to do better than this. And I would like to know who's responsible for maintaining the website, where the documents are, so that we can easily put our hands on them to see what's actually going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Abdu. Any other? Yes, would you please give your name?
Hi, I'm Beth Gibbons. I live at 183 North Mansfield Street. I did not spend hours preparing for this meeting tonight, but I have spent hours and hours over the last several months watching the processes which have unfolded in the city, which I am so proud that we have been upholding, the CBO and the CBA processes. I think that the time and effort that Ypsilantans have put into the CBA is commendable, and that their effort has for us an affordable housing development with a bronze USGBC standard is remarkable. I understand there's always more that we can do, and I think that there's an opportunity to push this development to reach a higher standard of efficiency. However, the argument that this shouldn't happen because it could happen someplace else is unremarkable to me, because if it could happen somewhere else, then it would have happened someplace else by now. It is a red herring to say that it could happen on Water Street. We know that Water Street has issues with its contamination that require remediation that will continue to be an obstacle to affordable development on that site. There's a possibility in the future that could be addressed, but we have an affordable housing crisis on our hands now and a solution ahead of us now. I hope that for those who are concerned about the climate resilience considerations at hand with this, they will think about the ways that we can look across our community, build the urban tree canopy, build green spaces that are actually not secrets, that are accessible to everyone in our community, that extend the tree canopy across Ward 1, that improve Park Ridge, that improve Prospect Park, that improve Waterworks Park. There are plenty of spaces for us to invest our love of nature and our love of parks and our love of trees. And we can do that well together. I am so sorry that we have arrived at a time in our country, in our city, and in our world that we are where we are in the climate crisis. But this is a time of trade-offs. It is hard, but it is where we are. And so right now we're being asked to make a really difficult choice. But we have to think about where we can put affordable housing in an urban area that will be accessible to transportation, that will be accessible to resources, which our amazing community, which we all agree we love, can be accessed by people who already live here and people who will come here. The county is proposing a 30% land preservation goal in its climate action plan. There is a lot of land in Washtenaw County to preserve. Our urban areas in Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor are not those areas. These are places where our people will gather, our community benefits and resources will thrive, where we will be together in a space that we can access our transportation, access our urban resources, and then address the other needs of the climate crisis throughout our city. So I encourage you to vote yes on this.
Thank you. Any other hands? Anyone else? Mr. Tusa.
Just a couple of things. I took a walk down Depot Town over the boardwalk, and you got a lot of planks that's sticking up that could cause a trip hazard and cause you guys some difficulty if you don't take care of it. Affordable housing, everybody needs someplace to stay. Everybody needs someplace to stay. I'm familiar with Park Street. I'm familiar with the area we're talking about now because I delivered papers. And those areas when I was a little boy, we didn't have districts yet. So wherever you got a customer, that's where you had to deliver that paper. And I wish that was some way that racism could be eradicated. But it won't because nobody wants to talk about it. When I was a little boy, carrying papers in these areas, I had so much controversy with white folks because I had no business there. And let me show you, as a result, they redistrict the newspaper carriers, Lester Glass and Miss Sarah. They redistricted because the blacks was having such problems carrying papers in those areas where white folks were. I don't think a lot of folks are against affordable housing, but they are against who's gonna stay there. And I like honest people. Give me an honest man or honest woman. Just come out and say, I do not want them black folks around me. I don't want them poor hillbillies around me, and it will be settled. Just be honest. Don't come up talking all this mess all about what y'all talking about. And Water Street, forget Water Street, because Cheryl Farmer knew Water Street was dead when she introduced it. She didn't ask nobody about all that mess was down there. I worked convertible plan. I worked surveys. I worked Leroy's transmission shop, and I knew all those contaminants pouring in the ground. I told Cheryl, but did Cheryl pay that attention? No, she didn't pay a bit of attention. Affordable housing is what we need, and affordable housing is what we are going to get. Case closed.
For anyone else that would like to address council?
Mayor, there are three
Raise your
hands.
hand.
We do have 3 hands raised on.
All right, thank you.
The first hand raised is Monica Prince from those attending virtually. I'll allow them to speak now. And Monica, you'll need to unmute yourself to address council.
Good evening. Sorry about that. I'm Monica Prince, and I'm the director at this Ipsy Senior Center on Congress Street. I just wanted to give a little bit of an update of what's going on there. One of the biggest things that we've been doing is working with intergenerational projects. We received a planning grant this year to develop the senior center to bring the generations together, older and younger together, for the benefit of both. And we have been partnering with many agencies that work both with the young and the old, institutions like the library and the colleges and universities in the area. And we are bringing them together to develop a plan to see how this could come to reality. Soon, I will be bringing more information to the City Council in the near future, hopefully. And there'll be more information about what we have been doing and what we hope to accomplish in the next few years. But we're very dedicated to bringing both the old and the young together to benefit both and to make the city a better place for both seniors and younger people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prince.
Council, the next individual with their hand raised is Amber Fellows. I'll allow them to speak now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so hi, council. I'm here today just to ask about one of the recommendations we made for the 220 North Park Commission was to ask the city to create some sort of avenue for home buyer education, either through partnership or as a standalone program. But I think that is a crucial part of the success of the 220 North Park agreement, to make sure that residents in Ypsilanti are prepared and are ready to purchase those homes when they become available. So I just want to ask you to work on that. And then, I'm hearing all this dissent against the Clark Road agreement. And I firmly believe in public participation. I believe that there should be robust participation and that people should be noticed in advance so they can come out and make their remarks. And with that in mind, I just want to remind everyone that the CBO process is a way, and its intent is to increase public participation and specifically resident involvement in decision-making and discussion. So there has been a lot of robust participation all throughout the last many months. And I just hope council can hear that within the context of this conversation. As you know, there's going to be less people out here today probably speaking in support of Clark Road. The other thing I just want to comment on is that the 4 members of council that moved to delay the pilot decision, I just wonder about that a little bit, especially this Evan Sweet, who is an appointee and so is not accountable to anyone. I'm just surprised someone so new would take a part of an obstructive action that is not being noticed or given any explanation. That's just alarming to me, and I think that is cause for concern of any appointed council member. And also, it's an election year, so I just want to remind you, if you're going to vote against affordable housing in an election year, that's political suicide, and you should just, give up your spot right away. Someone brought up light tech being a tax offset for billionaires. That is true, and it's bad. And, but the problem is that the federal government has not prioritized giving money to states and municipalities to build public housing and social housing. And so that's why this neoliberal private mechanism of light tech has been developed. It's not a good system, but it's the one that we have right now. And that's why that's the model that's being used. I think the other thing that I want to say is that it's important to use environmental justice tax exploitation when talking about housing. But our it's coming out when new tech co-workspace.
The next individual with their hand raised is Alice. I'll allow them to speak now. Alice, you'll have 3 minutes to address council.
Yes. Great. I'm hoping y'all can hear me. I guess holler if you can't. I'm Alice. I live at 501 West Forest. I'm here to also support the development, which is not a phrase that I usually say. I hear a lot of people speaking tonight that are bringing out their credentials about like their degrees or whatever that they have. So I wanted to speak as somebody who also has a bunch of letters after their name, even though I think that shouldn't actually matter. I got my master's from U of M in conservation ecology and environmental justice, and I've done a lot of work with land acquisition and the environmental impacts of housing. I only have a limited time, so I won't go into that. One of the letters that was written to y'all tonight, to a lot of the participants, was by Cheryl Farmer, and it said that the quote, entire cost of the city falls on the fraction of property owners and who own homes and businesses and pay taxes. That can be true, and to me that seems like the very same logic that people use when they say, well, EMTs get paid less than $15 an hour, so McDonald's workers shouldn't get $15 an hour either. No, the answer is they should both get at least 15, probably more. And the CEOs that are making millions and billions off of those workers need to take pay cuts. For housing, it's the same thing, the folks that have massive amounts of housing need to give up some of their housing. They need to be willing to rent out their stuff for less, and they need to get more, the federal government needs to be more willing to fund affordable housing projects. It's definitely stupid and bad that places like U of M and EMU are not paying the taxes that they should be paying to help the city provide very important services. But the answer to that isn't to shut down more affordable housing. To me, it's very telling and frustrating that we get a lot of middle class homeowners coming out in full force against this affordable housing development, and not against things that are actually in the interests of, the middle class and the property owning class. I would have loved to see y'all come out and talk about the way that affordable housing in Ypsi is owned by one or two slumlords, or the way over 30% of the city's budget goes towards the police instead of things that actually reduce crime, like, for example, housing. I'm sorry that homeowners who have stable housing and stable income are sad that taxes might go up for them. I get it. Like, it's frustrating that other places in the city are not paying the taxes it should be. The answer to that is not shut down affordable housing when it's at a time when it is the most critically needed. I'm really thrilled that the city might be funding this. I'm really happy at the work that community members put in to make this possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Alice. Is there anyone else before we close? Public comment?
Council, I do not see anyone else in the attendees list with their hand raised.
All right, thank you. No one else in the chamber?
Give me another shot.
I wish I could. That would be breaking the rules. Thank you all, everyone that came and gave comments tonight. We appreciate it. And we invite you to come back to City Council at any time. At this time, we will close the public comment time, and we will have a presentation from Mr. G. Yes.
I'm gonna make a motion.
We're not entertaining the motion now, we're entertaining, we're speaking to, we're moving on to presentation.
Yeah, I wanted to amend the agenda to move a resolution before this.
I'm sorry, but we're moving on to presentation. And we're not, the chair is not entertaining motions right now. Okay? Thank you. Mr. Jacobs.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Mayor. Good to be with you. I promise I'm going to make this pretty quick. I think I only have 9 or 10 slides here. So if
Yeah, it's taking a while.
we're going to talk about just 4 things: programming by city facility, calendar of events, community event policy. We've been really successful with the Freight House. We're going to talk about park system opportunities. It's kind of an extension on the conversation we've been having with Bonnie and other members of our park team here at the city. One of the things the council really wanted to see was the programming efforts that we're making and filling in the gaps, making sure that we're making the best use of our city facilities and our park system in lieu of having internally developed programs. So I'm going to jump into it.
Yeah, I'll get it up here in a second. It's just loading slowly.
It's not that big. It'll be the program.
Oops.
All right, that's the cover slide. We can jump to the next one.
Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. This is doing this to me. Okay, there we go.
Thanks, Sandy. Like I said, we'll talk about 4 things. First, programming by city facility. We'll go through all 4. Then we're going to look at the calendar of events, which is what we can see on the website currently and how we're doing some different marketing of the programming happening. And then we'll look at the community event policy, how it's been used in the Freight House, and then talk about how that might be applied in the park system. So at the Freight House, since we adopted the policy in August of 2021, we've had a free community event, at least one every single month. A lot of that stuff that we are familiar with, IFC Glow, First Fridays, Depot Time tree lighting ceremony, but we've also had a lot of internally developed programming that we've been able to take advantage of because of the community event policy making it free. And what we've discovered is by eliminating, reducing the barriers for creative people to do creative things in the community, we don't have to do that on our own. And so things like the free Thanksgiving community meal, the Beautify IPSI event, Spring Artisan Market, the really free market series, or what's going on this month, the IPSI flea market, they're all things that we've been able to develop because of the community events policy that's on the So at the senior center, Park Ridge, and the pool, it's a little bit more specific to the targeted population that we're trying to serve. So with the senior center, of course, it's programs aimed at seniors, and Monica alluded to the intergenerational programming that's happening. There's some really important work, especially during the challenging pandemic that's been taking place at the senior center. One such example of kind of getting back into person is the Tai Chi class coming up on July 14th. So we advertise these events. I work closely with Monica, making sure that this stuff is in the newsletter and that we have it on our calendar. Park Ridge Community Center, kind of the same way, except we have a totally different target population, kids and the youth in the area. And it's a summer camp. I was just over there last week. It's kicked off at Park Ridge. It's alive at the park, alive at the center, and they're serving a lot of kids this year. And so it's really exciting to see that. There's a weekend academy. There's a Young Men of Purpose program. And, although we don't see maybe a lot outwardly advertised about the programs at Park Ridge, they are serving a ton of people. And if you're in that community, you're talking to folks, you really find that out. It's a little bit different with some of these targeted programs because it's more than just being able to walk up and participate. There's registration. Oftentimes there's a lot of resources like computers or technology needed for kids to participate. And so the way we market these events is a little bit different. Next slide. Rutherford Pool. This is open to the public, but it's for a very specific purpose, obviously operating pool. They do other stuff. The Kids Triathlon, for example, on August 13th, or on June 3rd recently, partnering with Top of the Park in Ann Arbor, they had a band play out there. So the Rutherford Pool and all the Friends groups do a great job doing programming targeted for the population. Just a little bit about what we talked about in terms of how we've started marketing internal and external events differently on our website and newsletter. Kudos to Tom and Elise and our team with the newsletter. I think although this is very small, you can see it's a pretty good synopsis of our monthly events coming down the pipeline. And I provided a list there on the left, just stuff happening this month here on out, less stuff that's actually already happened by then. So you can see we're quite busy in the park system at city facilities. A lot of this stuff is happening. It's just a difference in how we're marketing it, and letting folks in the community know what's going on. The community events policy. So this has been like the one major change. If I could have one takeaway from this presentation, it's how we might apply the community events policy to achieve our goals in the park system. And I say that because this policy, it's really simple, but it's been effective. The event's got to be free and open to the public completely. You can't charge anything for it. 2, if vendors do sell goods, the cost to participate can't be cost prohibitive. It's got to be $10 or less. And there's got to be a financial report provided by the organizer to show they're not making money subsidized by offering the Freight House for free. There's nothing problematic with vendors making money or customers having vendors to shop at, especially when they're local. We don't want the organizer to be getting the event space for free and making money off it. That subsidized costs to the city. So number 3, public event cannot engage in hateful, derogatory speech, including symbols of racism, homophobia, violence. Weapons cannot be sold by vendors, or merchandise or goods that display those symbols of hate. So pretty straightforward, and I think self-explanatory. We haven't had any issues with any of these criteria either in the history of applying it at the Freight House. Number 4, religious services are not eligible. Community events under policy. So, like I said, the whole point here is to develop programming, fill in gaps in lieu of having a Parks and Rec department to create that on its own. And the single best tool we have is eliminating the barriers for people to use our park system. It's remarkable to think that there are such creative people that would want to do a talent show or want to do stuff that we've all said we want to see, children's programming, and then that we would make that difficult for them, with hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees, and then to require them to come to council and make that plea to council through the hardship fee waiver policy as it stands in the park system right now has been a cumbersome policy that makes it difficult to plan community events more widely in the park system as we've done successful in Freight House. And so hopefully, if it's something council wants to see in a couple weeks. We'll be bringing back ordinance changes to adopt a community events policy to make it easier for the community or for the city manager to sign off on these administratively when they meet the goals of council to develop programming in our park system. So we won't have to see all of these come to council asking for a fee waiver. There'll be a standard policy, an objective way to start to say, this is what we want to see. Yes, let's make it happen. And I think with that one change, we can do more in our park system than we are currently doing. And we can confidently plan with organizers who want to do creative things. And that's it. I'm just looking for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Council have any questions or comments for Mr. Jacobs? I would, go ahead. Mr. What fan was that, or voice? Mr. Jones fan.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing an ordinance like that.
Thank you.
No, Mr. Jacobs, I do have, one thing, you have the jazz in the park from 6 to 10. It's actually 6 to 9.
I'll make that change on our calendar. I appreciate that. That's that.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Okay, the consent agenda. I need you have that, Mr. Young.
A resolution number 2022-158 resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the following items be approved. Resolution number 2022-159, approving the minutes of June 21st and July 7th, 2022. Resolution number 2022-16, approving ordinance 1395 and ordinance entitled Plan Unit Development Financial Services. Mr. Club West Cross, second reading. Resolution number 2022-161, adding an additional entity to the community benefits agreement / emergency services agreement for 845 and 945 Clark Road, and I so move.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the resolution for the consent agenda. All in favor?
Mayor, that's a roll call.
A roll call? Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yeah.
Mayor Richards,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
with 7 yes, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Resolution number 2022-150, approving the fee schedule for fiscal year 2022. I believe you have that, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, there, Councilmember Simmons. I believe it's on that end.
Number 150?
150. You have it. Okay, thank you.
Resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the attached fee schedule be adopted pursuant to.
Sorry to interrupt, but there needs to be a motion to remove it from the table.
I move to remove resolution number 2022-150 from the table.
It's been moved and second to remove resolution 2022-150 from the table.
That can be a voice vote, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now Mr. Wilcox.
Resolution number 2022-150, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the attached fee schedule is adopted pursuant to the Ypsilanti City Code, and the following fees relating to the various sections of the city code and activities of the city are hereby established, and the various city departments are authorized to charge and collect such fees effective immediately. Support.
It's been moved and supported. I see Mr. Myers before us. You have some information for us, please.
So thank you, council, for realizing last month that, our last meeting, that some things were not quite right. They've all been updated and fixed. Nothing substantially changed except for some of the parking stuff that happened last year. I don't know if anyone has any questions. So did Bonnie twice.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, would you call the roll, please, Mr.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Resolution 2022-162, approving the request to waive park rental fees for the 2022 Ypsilanti Fire Truck Muster. Who has that? You, Ms. Simmons, please.
Resolution number 2022-162, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas the city of Ypsilanti adopted a special events policy. And pursuant to the policy, the city may provide financial support for an event if it is of general interest to the public and advances the city's public image. And whereas this year, the Ypsilanti Fire Truck Muster will take place Saturday, August 27th at Riverside Park. And whereas the Ypsilanti Fire Truck Muster event organizer is requesting that the city waive their park rental fees for the 2022 event. And whereas city council agrees that waiving the park rental fees for the 2022 Ypsilanti Fire Truck Muster would be in the general interest of the public and advance the city's public image. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approves the request to waive the park rental fees for 2022 Ypsilanti Fire Truck Muster in the amount of $1,185. I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Questions or discussion? Yes, Ms. Simmons.
I'm trying to remember what we did in a couple meetings ago with, and mind and thought being equitable. I'm trying to remember if anyone can recall what we waived previously.
Could you speak more into your mic, please?
A couple meetings ago, we had waived some fees for other events, and we were trying to be kind of equitable when we did that, or fair, I guess. So I was wondering how this compares to that. I don't actually recall off the top of my head.
Mr. Jones Chan?
It looks like Mr. Hellinger has an answer also, but I think we just waived the non-refundable fees.
And
Mr. Linger?
that is correct. And also the Administrative Services Manager, Wendy Etsy, is here to answer any questions. Or Etsy, I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind, my name is Dave Egler. I'm Dave Egler, and I am the Director of Operations for the Michigan Firehouse Museum. So I'm the one who submitted the application. I'm here just to answer any questions that you might have with regards to the event. This is our annual fire truck muster that we have held in the park. The museum has sponsored in the park for years, except for the last couple of years because of, that nasty four-letter word called COVID. And so that's what we're asking for your support for us to be able to do that. We don't charge any admission. This is not a fundraiser for it. It's nothing like that. It's just open for generally the public to come in and see some antique fire trucks and get some fire safety education, and kids of all ages to enjoy the park.
Thank you. Any questions for? No? Thank you so much. And thank you for continuing to bring the muster there to the park. We appreciate it.
That is a beautiful location for
Yes,
that.
it is.
And, we get fire muster buffs from all over the state, actually from Ohio too, coming in to bring their truck. It's just a gorgeous location for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Simmons.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem has pointed out to me that we're on par with our other events.
You pointed out, what was that?
Mayor Pro Tem just pointed out the amount is on par with what we have done previously, so I was just trying to understand that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes,
Motion carries unanimously.
thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to be there so long.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, resolution 2022 163, approving the 2022-2023 property and liability insurance renewal. Ms. Simmons.
Resolution number 2022-163, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the premium for the property and liability insurance renewal for the city of Ypsilanti effective August 1st, 2022-2023 with the Michigan Municipal League liability and property pool be approved in the amount of $394,860 be approved. Be it further resolved that the city manager is authorized to sign and approve payment of the invoice. I so move.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or discussion? It's being now, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown, Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Resolution 2022-164, approving contract with Government Consulting Services, Inc.
It is resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the renewal contract with Governmental Consultant Services, Inc. of 120 North Washington Square, Suite 110, Lansing, Michigan, for a 3-year term be and hereby is approved. The mayor and city clerk are authorized to sign the contract for and on behalf of the city, subject to the approval of the city attorney as to form and as to support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any questions or discussion? Councilmember Somerville.
Yes, I would like to make an amendment. I'd like to amend, I move to amend the agreement to, a term of 1 year, at 36,000.
That's for
There's been a motion to amend the resolution, reducing it from 3 years to 1 year. Any questions or discussion on the resolution to amend? Mr. Jones Chan.
Yeah, does staff see any problems with that?
That's the current rate that the city is paying, $36,000 a year. I believe Mr. Barr reviewed the contract on this. And this was sent by the city manager, but this is on par to what we pay. I'm not entirely sure if what the lobbyist would think, but.
Well, so my next question then is. I mean, should we amend it at all? I mean, should we, what's the benefit, I think, that we're getting for having a lobbyist, and is it worth even $36,000?
Mr. Jones Chance, I also wonder if the city manager might be able to answer some of those questions perhaps, but unfortunately she's not here tonight. I understand some of the concerns have been expressed, but yeah.
I would, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to say this is at a reduced rate. I do know that Mr. Prophet feels a real kinship to the city of Ypsilanti, being that this is where he grew up in. So, but the $3,600 a year is an reduced rate for what they usually charge a municipality. That helps him. Mr. Wilcox.
Waiting for you to like first one. I'm in favor of reducing this to 1 year, so that we can renegotiate. You know, my emails that you've all seen about accountability in this, you know, I sent a question to the staff, I sent a question to Mr. Prophet contacted me and wanted to meet. And I was like, I don't want to meet. I want you to give me an accounting of how to spend your time that we pay them. And he
came out with a qualitative report that basically is founded on what he gave in the oral report. But in my mind, I'm treating this as, Mr. Barr presents an itemized bill, even though he's on retainer, he gives an accounting of how he and his staff spend their time in service to the city. This project is not. And it gets really confusing because we have state representatives who are claiming that they do all this stuff. And we have Mr. Prophet claiming that he does all these things. And I recognize that they work in concert together, but what is the added value from this contract on top of what our state representatives are supposed to be doing? And there have been several instances in the past year where it seems like Mr. Prophet was working against our best interests by consulting other people who are not his clients before consulting us. So I would like to renegotiate this with metrics involved so that we do get an accounting on a regular basis and not just a stand-up report once a year. So that means that we need to table this to get that in there, then I'm in favor of that. If we can put that on in here now, that's fine too. But I really want this to be more than what it has been, because this is so loosely worded that, there's little information here as to why we're spending this money.
Ms. Simmons.
I mean, I'm open to, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Wilcoxon, and I guess I could see tabling this perhaps to allow the city manager maybe to just give her kind of take on, why it makes sense, or, the 1 year versus 3 years or not at all. So, I mean, I think that, there's no urgency, I don't think. I'm sure it's expiring. It's already expired, but next meeting, I don't know.
I don't believe that there would be, it might have expired, but I don't believe that there's a pressing urgency. So if you would like to make the motion to table, please do so.
The last time no problem. The last time I reviewed the contract, it's a 3-year contract, but automatically renews at the 36,000. So it will automatically renew. So it does give time for the city manager and city's council to renegotiate the contract. But
when is that point then? I mean, if we.
So we've passed the 3 years, but if this is tabled until the next meeting, it should allow enough time.
But we have a motion on the floor, don't we?
Correct.
Mr. Johnson.
So we are currently in a contract on does the 3 years renew, or does it renew for just 1 year at a time, or how does it renew? I guess I could look at this one and hope it's the same. Huh?
I believe the contract before council is for 3 years, and then it has an increasing yearly amount for those 3 years.
But then when it expires and automatically renews, how long does it renew for?
That I'm not certain.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor, so would we like to vote that up or down and then have the table?
Well, I guess the reason I'm asking is because if it's automatically renewed at the same rate, then the motion is irrelevant. And then we can discuss the contract separately.
It wouldn't automatically renew after next year. That would be the.
Well, I guess I would like to discuss the merits of the contract in general.
Can I?
I'm happy to take the motion.
Ms. Somerville.
Yeah, I'd be fine removing my motion and just moving to table it.
Okay.
I move to take back my motion, and I move to table this until the first council meeting in August.
I will extend my second and offer the new second.
Okay, Mr. Barr, when it's tabled, is the table to the next meeting?
You can table to a specific time, but I think that's what they did.
Okay.
You can do that, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Postpone until a date certain.
It's been moved and second to move this to table this particular resolution to the first meeting in August. Is that a voice vote?
We should do a roll call.
Sure, yes, I'd say a roll call.
Mr. Jones Chance,
No.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
With 6 yes and 1 no, the motion carries.
Thank you. All right, resolution 2022-165, approval appointments to boards and commissions.
Resolved by the council of this, resolution number 2022-165, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the following residents be appointed to the city of Ypsilanti boards and commissions as indicated below. Shannon Bear to the Sustainability Commission, expiring 5/1/2025. Lola Mahler, Parks and Recreation, to expire 7/1/2023. And I so move. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or discussion? Okay.
I talked to Shannon Bear and she's a work team member and a very smart person and I think it'd be a great addition to different events to look at systems.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Maloney, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen.
Yep.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right, we have a couple boards and commission nominations for bicentennial committee, Madeline Brown, 108 Abbott. Parks and Recreation, Tariq Furman, that would be a youth seat. Dylan Navarre, reappointment for the Parks and Recreation, yes.
I'd like to move at this time to Rachel Crone.
Move to reappoint Mr. Navarre. Okay. It's been moved, and I think I heard a second. Is that yes? To reappoint Mr. Navarre at this given time. All in favor, or would you call the roll, please?
I'll call it, well, who had I know that Councilmember Wilcoxen had the motion.
I second.
Okay. Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
We have one other nomination, which is a new appointment, Blake Garrity. And that is the new appointment for the Parks and Recreation. Right.
I'd also,
Mr. Jones, can.
yeah, I'd also like to move to appoint Tariq Furman now as well. Why keep our youth waiting? I'm sure they'll be excited.
Just so council knows, there's actually no Parks and Rec meeting in July, so they'll be on the board by the time they next meet in August.
We'll be excited to get the email.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a Parks and Recreation meeting this month.
Oh, there is? Oh, okay, my mistake. So I have Mr. Jones Chance, and then was that Mayor Pro Tem Brown?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Okay, it's been moved in second to for Tariq Furman to be put on the Parks and Recreation immediately. Would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yeah.
motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Wilcoxen,
I'm gonna move that we just put Blake Harity on the Parks and Rec and Eric Diamond Mohammed on the White Pack at this time.
Support.
it's been moved in second that we, that Mr. Blake Harity and, Eric Mohammed, for the Police Commission, Advisory Commission, Ms. Blake Harity for the Parks and Recreation Committee. It's been moved in second for both of those to be, installed immediately. Any questions or comments? Seeing none.
Who had the second on that?
I thought, Simmons seconded.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Can I make a motion to nominate Madeline Brown now, please?
Support.
Thank you. Madeline works in the library and will be a huge asset to Bicentennial. So I'm excited to tell her that she.
It's been moved and second to, immediately put Ms. Madeline Brown on the Bicentennial Committee. It was moved and second. There was a second? Yes, thank you. Mr. Halinga, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Halinga, for notifying all of the new board and commission members that they are all voted in. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for the clerk. When the motion is tabled, motion for an ordinance day, there's a process for removing that, and does one have to wait till the next meeting if it's tabled for a date certain?
The motion was to postpone until the August, or the first meeting in August. So there would have to be, on the prevailing side, there would need to be a motion to, again, it would have to be a motion to reconsider.
And that can be reconsidered at any time?
Has to be within the next meeting.
But yes, it has to be, actually reconsider has to be at this meeting. And then you can always bring it back at the next meeting if you make a motion, but that would be a motion to actually renew the resolution.
To reconsider it. There has to be someone on the prevailing side. They can move it at this meeting and not need it at the next meeting.
So, okay, so the soonest it could be reconsidered would be the next meeting, unless it's renewed, in which case it could be at this meeting?
You can reconsider it at this meeting and the next meeting, is what Mr. Barr said.
I'm not on the prevailing side, so. yeah.
So I am.
Oh, this was about Clark.
Yeah.
I think we've had plenty of information at this point.
You actually can't do that. It was postponed. Those public hearings will need to be renoticed. Yeah, that was postponed. You cannot bring those up now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Halinga, for that. Okay, board and commission communications, police advisory commission, 2022-01, requesting council become a member of the National Association of Civil Oversight of Law Enforcement.
Yeah, that was just sent from the Police Advisory Commission. It was in my first meeting, so I'm actually also getting myself briefed on this organization, but on their behalf, I asked the council with this resolution and send me any questions you may have, so I can bring it back to the commission at our next meeting. So if you want to consider this.
Thank you. I think we would like to look it over and for the next meeting. Thank you. All right, brings us to board and commission liaison reports. The Warren Police Advisory Commission.
That was it.
That was your.
That was
Okay, that's the full report.
Yeah,
Okay.
one person thing back there.
Thank you. The Human Relations Commission.
The meeting did not have quorum.
Only one member showed up, so they did not have quorum to call the meeting to order.
All right, I am working and talking with some people to become members of that commission. The Arts Commission.
Thursday.
Okay, thank you. We received notice today of I don't know if it went to all of council or not, but Jakar is sent in a resignation for the Arts Commission. You didn't get that? Okay, I got that today. So, and I sent a reply thanking them for their service. Okay, the Parks and Recreation Commission, Mr. Wilcoxon. All right, thank you. And go right ahead with the sustainability. You haven't had a meeting either? Okay. Historic District Commission.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. The Planning Commission.
Hasn't met since my last report.
Thank you. And the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Same.
Thank you. All right, liaison report, CENTAS update. Haven't met since the last report. There is a CENTAS meetup on this Thursday. It's in Port Huron, and there will be a tour of downtown Port Huron and some of the historic sites there in the city. Also, the race that goes from Port Huron to Mackinac will be starting. I mean, boats will be coming, so there will be a tour of the that you can see all the boats that are ready to go. Washington Area Transportation Study.
We actually are meeting next week.
Thank you. Urban County, Mr. Myers. I can't hear you.
We did not have a July meeting.
No meeting? Okay, thank you. Ypsilanti Downtown Development Authority, Mr. Jacob.
He is not here to wait.
I don't believe we've had a meeting since our last meeting. So, Friends of Rutherford Pool. Mr. Wilcoxon.
I believe we have a meeting.
All right. Okay, and Mr. Wilcoxon, seeing as you are the liaison person for 3 boards and commissions, would you like to give one of those up, and we will appoint Mr. Sweet?
Would it be a conflict of interest for you to be the liaison to Parks and Rec Department?
No, I would love that. That would be great.
All right, thank you. I was thinking that. But no, okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Also proposed business. I'll start here with Mr. John Shan.
Yes, I have just another pesky procedural question about the postponement of the reading of the ordinance. It seems it's just set up really far. What's the mechanism for bringing that back on the next meeting, which I think is in 2 weeks?
That's a council decision.
Can anyone make a motion to that effect?
Take it off the table, yes.
We would have to renotice the public hearings, though.
Well, we're gonna do that anyway.
So if council determines at this meeting that they'd like to hold it on July 26th, we can renotice those.
And anyone can make that motion, that one on the prevailing side of postponing it?
Actually, no, we have to, we need to publish these in the publication of record, and we won't be able to do that until next Thursday. So it would be an impossibility to actually have it at the next meeting,
Why wouldn't we be able to do that next Thursday?
because that's the publishing schedule is everything is due by Tuesday to be published the following Thursday. So we can't do it this Thursday, so it'd have to go next Thursday. So it doesn't leave enough time.
We could have a special council meeting,
You already have a special council meeting on July 28th.
or we could cancel that one and just have a council meeting to vote on this pilot.
That would be up to council. The Police Advisory Commission does meet on that date of July 28th. That's the joint meeting with council.
There's also a conflict that 3 of us are liaisons to bicentennial, which also meets that day. So what's the issue with just doing it then at the August meeting? Yes.
I don't even understand the issue of not doing it today.
Well, I guess the issue that I see is that it's kind of, the development could just go away between now and then if there's a timeline.
Mr. Wilcoxon, would you please share the reasoning for the postponement?
Sure. I postponed it till the 9th because I won't be here on the 26th. There are a number of things that, to me, are completely unresolved and issues that have not been addressed in either the CBO process or discussion in the body. And I would like to have this thing to be addressed, and that's why I postponed it.
I'd like to say that one of the reasons that I voted to postpone it is I do believe that we have not received all the information that we actually need. I think that we need a report from the city manager and Mr. Desicobo, that we just how much money the city is going to be missing, and how much money the city is going to be losing on this. It's not that just it's $100 for the next 2 or 3 years. We're talking about $100 a year for the next 30 years. And I do believe that we need to look to see over the long haul how much that is actually going to cost the city. As we've already heard and report from the finance director is that, and the city manager, is that we're looking at falling into a deficit, which is already before us. So we need to really understand and just get more information about the finance, what it's going to cost the city. Also, I would like to hear from a report from the Sustainability Commission. One of the things that I don't know if council is really remembering is that we voted last year, or year before last, to be a part of the A20 and working towards sustainability and working towards lessening of climate change. So I think that those are things that we need to look at before we make a vote on the pilots. So, Mr. Jones-Chance.
Yeah, so for the sake of discussion, I would like to move that we postpone this, reconsider this on the 28th instead. And if someone would second that, I would like to have at least I'd just like to have a discussion about why it was tabled. So some of that financial information, I feel like we talked about a lot at the last meeting. I think we're pretty clear on the revenue situation with respect to this property. I mean, we talked a lot about it. The environmental question, I think, is an important one. However, I think it would be more relevant if the city already owned the land, and we don't. So our only controls here are our own police powers, and which we have on every property in the city, and the pilot process. Those are the only controls we have over this property. So if the deal doesn't go through, it reverts back to private ownership, and it could be anything. So I'm not sure. I just feel like that question would be more relevant if we already own the land. But you know, I completely get the old growth forest and all that. I think it's important. But we don't have any control over what happens to it if this development
For a pilot
goes through.
ordinance, is that enough? 1 week?
And obviously the need for housing is great, and
It's
if
coming
it
up for voting for a public hearing.
It'd be a public hearing.
does
and
cost
notice
us
it.
It will be
a few $100,000,
I
then
believe so. Is it
I mean,
good enough?
If it is, then that's.
I hate to say we can find 30, but I think we can find at least. I think we can find the money to make this happen. So I would. Yeah, I mean, I get it's sort of a chicken or egg thing, but I think we can work that.
I do not believe 1 week is enough notice for a pilot. I just conferred with Mr. Barr, and I think we need at least 10 days for a public notice for a pilot.
So we could do it on August 1st.
No, that is the day before an election. This room will be closed off.
Does this still have to come from the prevailing party?
I'm sorry?
Does this motion still have to come from a prevailing member of the vote to postpone?
So I'm not sure what the motion is.
It's to postpone to a different date.
So this is it would be a motion the motion was to amend the agenda. It wasn't to postpone. So the agenda was amended to have this on another date.
Right.
So the motion wasn't a postponement, it was to amend the agenda to hold this on August. And I mean, Mr. Barr could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the motion was just to amend the agenda.
My motion's a new motion.
I move to postpone it.
He did move to postpone it.
The motion was to remove it from the agenda and postpone it to a specific date. What's the motion? So if that's to be changed or reconsidered, then you would need someone from the prevailing side to move that motion.
Thank you.
So then my motion is,
I have a
Yeah.
question about the timeline.
wait, so there's no motion on the table, then, right? My motion is.
Well, it's not in order because you were not on the prevailing side.
Okay, so someone else would have to make that.
I have a question about the timeline. It's your, council.
Ms. Somerville, would you wait till you're called on, please?
Yes, I will.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now let Mr. Jones chance finish, please.
Yes.
I guess this is just in my proposed business, so I will leave it at that for the moment, and hopefully someone else cleans up the mess I just made. So.
All right, thank you. Ms. Somerville, you had a question?
Is it my proposed business? yet?
No, it's not your proposed business yet.
Okay, I will wait.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones chance, proposed business, please. I'm sorry, I'm Mr. Wilcoxon. Nothing at this time? Okay, Ms. Somerville, proposed business, please.
Yes, thank you so much. Glad again, Mr. Barr. So for the timeline, I'm looking at the calendar. Today's Tuesday, July 12th. You're saying that we have to submit the request to notice today or to go in on Thursday to the proper 10-day notice.
So if we notice it today, it'd be published on Thursday.
The
So
14th.
the 14th, but we can't notice today because they're closed. So the notice wouldn't actually be sent until tomorrow. We have the deadline for a notice to be published on Thursday is 5 p.m. on
On
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yep,
Correct.
I understand. So to get it in for the 21st, that would not give, so
Not for the 26th. So that would be actually is that 10 days? Thursday.
What was the question?
So I'm just trying to figure out, like, because this is the first time I've heard that we have to publish things by 5 p.m. on Tuesday to get them in the paper by Thursday. So, like, right now, if we had any other sort of like ordinance that we needed to put forward, in addition to whatever just got, this one that just got tabled, we wouldn't be able to do that because there's not a timeline available to do it before the 26th or the 28th.
So it depends on what we're noticing. Some notices don't have to go in the paper and we can just put them on the website, but the pilot does. I'm fairly certain it needs at least 10 days.
Okay, no, so I'm asking for clarification for the members of here in the audience. Okay, so it's impossible to do that, and technically, we could have a meeting on Sunday, the 31st. I'm just saying, we could if 4 council members attended the meeting. The pilot, the ordinance for the pilot. Sure, but the prevailing side could move to have a special meeting to consider the
But you're
pilot.
not on the prevailing side.
I could do that, right?
Mr. Barr, would you explain the prevailing side, please?
So Evan or Jennifer or Steve or Lois. Right.
There's only 4 of them. We can't do anything about the postponement.
That's what I'm trying to understand. So someone could do that though. We could bring this back. And someone could technically put that on for that day.
Well, Robert's rules provides that when council or when a body takes some action, and then they decide they want to review it, that can be done, but it has to be someone that voted on the side that prevailed when he passed or did not, voted on that winning side. So if a person that voted and was in the minority on that vote cannot move to reconsider.
Listen,
So
I'm trying, they could vote, but they can't move. Reconsider.
So I agreed to postpone out of respect for my colleagues who wanted additional information and for Mr. Sweet to, kind of see where he would be voting. What is, and so for me, the date, it's not, whether, I was assuming, it was gonna be in the next meeting, but then, right, because of the notice piece. So what is the soonest we could have this meeting, just out of curiosity, after?
Yeah. I mean, you could have it.
yeah, I do believe that it's
This is my
also out of respect, Ms. Somerville, please. I
Mr.
do
Barr.
believe out of respect for Mr. Sweet, that we do need to give him time to really, I know he's, very astute and very smart and very intelligent. But I do believe that there's a lot that is in this and involved in this whole thing. And I think just out of courtesy, I don't believe it's too much to ask to give him some time if he can really get up to speed. So, but anyway, Mr. Helena, you were giving her an answer.
So if with the 10 days published on the 21st, and we could hold it on the 4th, the 3rd or the 4th. So the day following the election or the day after, or the day after that.
So those days do not work for me at all. I will be waiting on council basement.
Sorry, just to clarify though, we could have a council meeting on July 31st. If someone from the prevailing side wanted to bring this back and enough council members showed up for the meeting. Just technically speaking, I just want to know the possibilities here. We could have the ordinance heard on July 31st if there were enough people to attend the meeting at this notice of time.
Yes, I believe that. can't think of any reason.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted clarification so everybody on council knew that we could actually have it on the agenda, and we could notice it for July 31st. Cool. Yeah, I just want to share, I think we nominated a new council member last week so that they could be prepared for this meeting. I do think it's a lot of information to get caught up on. I understand what it's like walking your first council meeting after being appointed. I do think that maybe some people voted in favor of tabling this without realizing that it would be, we would have 2 more council meetings in between that we could have brought this up at. I just, it's pretty disappointing when we just spent months hearing public comment on this project. I also think comments about the A20 plan, part of climate resiliency is also preparing for housing. That's climate adaptation. People need a place to live. It's also working against environmental racism. We literally saw an 8% decrease in our Black population in Ypsilanti in the last 10 years. Who do you think is going to be pushed out of Ypsilanti with climate change? We have people who are very wealthy moving into Michigan. They're white. They're coming from California and other coastal states, and they're buying in places like Ypsilanti. We're renting in Ann Arbor because we have culture, we have arts and entertainment. And it reminds them of the places that they live right now, that they are not going to be able to live long-term because of the impacts of the climate crisis. So yeah, I mean, this will be on in August, but this is also delaying a project, potentially, preventing it from happening. The developer could just decide to be no longer interested. So that's what's at stake. So I think, that was a decision that some of you guys just made tonight. And the reality is, poor people will feel the impacts of that if that does happen. And personally, I mean, everything that we've heard tonight are things that we've heard the last several council meetings, the same pushback. Ypsilanti is not going to solve climate change because climate change is already here. It's our responsibility to best prepare for the climate crisis that we are living in. So it's about making sure that people do have a home and they do have access to clean water and clean air. Part of that's making sure that they have a place to live. So I just, deeply disappointed that this was tabled. And I just want that to be reflected here tonight. It's very disappointing. And yeah, but it's just very disappointing. I think it's unfair, and Brian wasn't here, and that, that's unfortunate that he couldn't be here. I don't know, it's just disappointing, that's all I have to say.
I would just like to say that this tabling was not a vote against the project. This tabling was that we do need more information. I spoke with our economic development director on yesterday about this, and he couldn't give me all of the figures because he said he didn't have them all. So I just want us to make a very good decision so that we do not have the same situation or a similar situation that we have with Water Street. Water Street has been like a millstone around the neck of this city. Just some clarity. Nobody understands the need or want of affordable housing, I think, on this council more than myself. But I do believe that we need this postponement is not necessarily that we're coming against the housing. It's just that let's make a really good decision. So it's not something that's bouncing back at us. We're coming back to bite us. That's my concern. That was why I wanted to see the delay, because there were some things that I just needed some more information that I needed. I voted yes on the for going forward with the project, and there's just some more that I need when it comes to this pilot. This is a pilot that is smaller and lower than any pilot that we have had in the city. And I think, yes, we need affordable housing, and we want affordable housing, but also I think we have a responsibility to the entire city. And what is this really going to do to our the city's financial status over the next 30 years?
Yeah, with all due respect, you knew what this pilot was when we voted on the agreement at our last council meeting. So what happened between now and then?
What happened was
Did you not get the packet? Like, it was all there. The same comments.
no, not all of the,
They were all there. This is not new information.
Ms. Simmons, please.
I feel like I'm at a campaign event. It feels like we got campaigning going on from, you know, the dynasty here. So, you know, I will be shocked if the developer, you know, walks away after all of this, because this is, you know, postponed by 2 meetings. Again, I went along with the postponement to allow other members to get additional, you know, they felt like there's more information they needed. I think, you know, when you have important projects, that it's okay, you know, to be thoughtful about it. I understand we've had a lot of meetings and things like that. I respect Steve and his thinking, and he's a very thoughtful council member. And so, you know, I know he wants more answers. And I was trying to respect Mr. Sweet here as a new member. I have no problem, well, if there's such a strong desire to have this on the 31st, I can make that motion. I won't be able to be there at that meeting. I also hate doing that to our staff people, particularly Andrew, if he'd have to be at that meeting right before an election. But, you know, if asked, I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure what the urgency is, I guess. It's been postponed, so that's a few days. I mean, again, unless we're, I don't know, I want to just focus on the business and less campaign debate going on, because that's kind of what's going on right here. And the business of the public to do outside of whatever is going on. So,
I assure you, there's no campaigning debating going on my part, none whatsoever. I'm just trying to be responsible for what the city actually needs and what the city can afford. That's all I'm trying to do. So, Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any proposed business? Thank you. Ms. Simmons, do you have any proposed business?
I totally lost it. I was gonna give kudos, the city manager's not here, and I'm gonna guess Mr. Akers is not on the line, is he? No, okay, well, I'll just say it to everyone else. We had those heavy rains, you know, a couple days ago. What was it? Was it Friday or Thursday? I don't know.
Last Friday.
Yeah, and Sar Street started to flood again, and so I went out there with my galoshes and whatever to go clear out, you know, some of the things, and I, you know, just sent Mr. Akers kind of a message, like, hey, you know, that was going on, and he had someone out really quickly to kind of just check on things and respond, and I appreciated that, and so did a lot of the folks and, you know, our neighborhood who, you know, dealt with some of the flooding, and like I said, I know work is being done to kind of see what we can do going forward, but I just want to give him big kudos. He's super responsive, and I think we're really lucky to have him. So I wanted to give that kudos, but I'll relay it again when, to city manager. I want to implore everyone, please, to get those reviews in. The reviews for the city manager and city clerk. So I received exactly 3, one from the city clerk, one from the city manager, and me. So if everyone else could get those in, you know, I would be happy to then put them together so we can move those forward in the meeting.
Ms. Simmons, you did not receive?
No, I did.
I did them the first day that they're out there in cyberspace, and because
Okay,
I did them the first day, and
Yeah,
I sent them to you.
Okay, so if you want to resend them.
I will try to pull them up and resend them. Thank you.
Does anybody need those resent again? Or you all have? Not looking at you.
Okay, so whatever you put in this, okay, I didn't know if I would be included in this or not.
So that's right. Sorry, I'm not even looking at you. But I guess, you know, is everyone good with having those, or you don't need the documents?
I will, if I can't find them, but I completed them. and
Okay.
sent them in immediately. So I thought, for sure you had them.
Okay, no.
When you kept saying you had received one, I
Oh,
thought.
no, that was me. Well, yeah, it was actually Andrew
Okay.
Star.
All right, I should
Yeah,
have
he was
I should have clarified.
Super timely.
Okay.
Yeah, so I apologize. So anyway, so there's that, I guess. So, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sweet, this is a council proposed business, and I don't know how familiar you are with council meetings, but this is the time that is set aside for council members to bring forth items that they're really concerned with, and to talk about what's going on in their neighborhood, if they want, or anything that they would like to bring before the full council. So, first of all, I want to congratulate you and welcome you, and you have sat through pretty much your first meeting, and do you have anything you want to say to us?
No, just thank you for allowing me to be here. I don't really have any specific business. I do have a question.
Okay.
Though regarding some of the things we've been talking about tonight. Am I able to ask that during this time?
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you know if you're not.
In regards to financial information with reference to the pilot that was been discussed, is there a council packet that can be found in specifically, or is information that can be shared with me?
Mr. Myers, please.
Okay, I just want to make sure I've read what, the obviously the current packet and the previous ones, but I want to make sure I'm capturing everything I should be having knowledge about, so. That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, okay, communications from the mayor pretty much has said the things that I wanted to say. I would like to encourage everyone to, if you can, attend the Jazz in the Park. It's on Saturday nights from 6 to 7. They started out with yoga, but they're having different things for that 1 hour, and the music starts at 7 o'clock. I've been the last 2 Saturdays, there's a fairly nice crowd. This weekend there should really be a nice crowd. It is the Divine Nine night, so they're expecting a number of people there. I think, well, I'll save that for my meeting with the city manager and the clerk. Okay. All right, Mr. Barr, please.
I'd like to mention, the mayor mentioned the SEMCOG in Port Huron, and that is the start of the Port Huron, the Mackinac race. And that evening, all of the boats are in the harbor there, right in Port Huron on the Black River. And it's a really amazing thing. So if you can, it's exciting to be there.
What day is it?
Yeah.
It's the start of the Port Huron, the Mackinac race that goes up Lake Huron to Mackinac Island from Port Huron. There's several hundred boats, sailboats that do it. And that night is like a big party there in the marina.
Yeah, no, I want to be at the party. So what is it?
Okay.
What day is it?
Well, it's this Thursday, it's the 14th.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. So I've never had the opportunity to go to a Port Huron before, so I'm looking forward to it. It's a good time. There is also, for those that might be interested, Port Huron unveiled late last fall a monument to the Red Tails. So that was, I understand that the unveiling was very, very nice. So if you want to see that, so the Tuskegee Airmen's memorial that they have there. So, but anyway, the city manager's not here, so there's no communication. The other communications with potential dates for the meeting at EMU. And those are September the 13th, September 27th, October the 4th, and October the 18th. Did you want me to do we need to vote on that tonight, Clerk Orlando?
If council wants to think about it, let me know on the 26th. I've had preliminary discussions with EMU, and once those dates are solidified, I'm gonna review a space and see exactly what technology we'll need. So if you want to think about it until the next meeting and let me know, that would be fine.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Wilcox.
What's the purpose of this meeting being on campus?
There was a request from EMU. The last joint meeting, or not a joint meeting, but last meeting we had on campus was in the fall of 2016. And EMU asked if there's any desire for the city to do that again. I asked during the last meeting and council seemed to be in favor of it. So I reached out to the administration there and started setting up. And if council would prefer not to do that, that is fine too.
I don't know that there's any purpose other than what he just said. We have had them, my years on council, we've had them in the past, but I know there's some, I am in talks also with the Ypsilanti School Board to have a joint meeting. We haven't had one of those in probably since 16 or 17 either. So the last one I think we had at the Freight House, possibly, I'm not sure. But anyway, we are in talks with them. They approached us about having a joint meeting. So, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's our meeting, but we've had them periodically in the past. We used to meet in McKinney Union and just have our meeting there. So. All right, we're open now for public comments. Everybody, do we have anybody else? Mr. Wilcox.
Another point that item D after that last item, the City Council Inclusive Advisory Commission joint meeting on Thursday, July 28th, which is going to be a little difficult because I'm not going to be here, and Gail, the chair of that commission, is not going to be in town.
Okay, this has been on the, I think I do believe the police, the YPAC scheduled this and asked for it some time ago. Certainly, if she is not going to be there, we can certainly change it. Would you please ask her to contact me or clerk? Okay, thank you.
So during the last joint meeting with Police Advisory Commission, council asked for 2 joint meetings of the Police Advisory Commission. The first was canceled because of COVID issues at the beginning of the year. And then this was the second date. I brought it up at the last YPAC meeting, but if this is something that council wants to postpone, then there will need to be a motion to amend the schedule at the next meeting on the 26th or now.
Well, would you please ask?
Sure, I will get back to you.
Yes, yes, walk off to get in touch with me. We can discuss it at the next meeting. Okay, we're open for public comment and seeing no one in the audience. Ms. Westler, we haven't heard from you tonight. You want to say
Mayor,
a good word for us?
Mayor, there is a hand raised on the virtual attendees list.
We do have someone on the still here.
Yes,
Okay.
Amber Fellows, and allow them to speak now.
Hello, I am here against my own desires, but I just am really surprised by what took place and the obstruction that happened. And Mayor, I'm really sad to say, I think you may have just lost a huge contingent of support. A huge contingent of support may have just evaporated. The comments made from Cheryl Farmer and others, I mean, Cheryl Farmer, the former mayor, she is the reason why the city of Ypsilanti is in such a deep budget shortfall to begin with. It was her fault to annex 40 acres of Water Street in an effort to kickstart gentrification in the mid-90s and put us at serious risk for a state-appointed emergency manager, which we've only gotten out of because of bonding and eventually the Water Street millage. So I find it like really gross and pompous that she had the audacity to invoke a risk of emergency manager over this particular development. And by the way, this development increases our city budget. It increases our city budget by adding new taxes to our rolls. Water Street did not do that. So I just, I find it suspicious. I'm all about getting more information, but that could have happened at various points. And I just find it suspicious that this is happening after the primary. And I am just very curious why the 4 individuals chose to make this motion. Yeah, I will be working very hard to figure out alternative to what I was planning to support, Mayor Lois Allen Richardson. So I just wish you all well. I think you've just sealed your fate, and I don't know what to say other than that.
Are you done, Ms. Hill? Thank you very much for your comments. Looking forward to hearing from you again. All right. I believe Ms. Simmons, Ms. Somerville, you have a resolution to adjourn.
Yeah, resolution number 2022-166.
Move in second.
Move to postpone that.
What was that? What was that?
I moved to postpone it until August 9th.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, it wasn't a satisfactory.